Caitlin Clark is out. Sophie Cunningham is gone. The WNBA says it's business as usual, but the truth is impossible to ignore. When one injury can shake the entire foundation of your league, you don't have a league, you have a gamble. And the gamble just backfired. For months, the WNBA looked untouchable. Packed arenas, record viewership, sponsors lining up, and at the center of it all was Caitlin Clark, the golden goose, the savior, the player who was supposed to launch a brand new era for women's basketball. And to her credit, she delivered. Ticket sales exploded, ratings went through the roof, corporate money poured in. But it was all built on fragile ground. One injury later, the All-Star Game loses its shine. Ticket prices nosedive, sponsors get nervous, and fans tune out. The league's reliance on Clark wasn't just obvious, it was reckless. And instead of showing leadership when it mattered most, the WNBA went silent. No transparency, no real updates, no assurance that its brightest star was being protected, just platitudes and PR spin. And that silence created an opening. Overseas leagues, Europe, Australia, Asia saw the blood in the water and started making calls, not just to Clark, but to other frustrated players. And when someone like Sophie Cunningham decides to walk away, it's no longer about fringe players chasing off-season money. It's about veterans leaving in season because they don't feel valued, protected, or even heard. That's why this moment is so dangerous. It's not about two names disappearing from the roster. It's about what their departures reveal. A system that depends on hype, not infrastructure. A league that builds its entire identity on one player, but can't keep that player safe or supported. If you're the kind of fan who wants the unfiltered version of the story, not just the polished press release, stick around. This isn't the first breakdown, and it won't be the last. Here's the reality the WNBA doesn't want to talk about. Europe, Asia, and Australia aren't just side hustles anymore. They're the main competition. Why? Because they don't just dangle a bigger paycheck. They offer something far more valuable: respect. Think about it. Overseas, players are getting six-figure contracts, full medical staff, world-class facilities, guaranteed housing, and travel that doesn't leave you cramped on a commercial flight. They're treated like professionals, like investments worth protecting. Meanwhile, in the WNBA, charter flights became a privilege tied to Clark's presence, not a standard. Injured players are patching themselves up with limited resources, grinding in the offseason just to keep the bills paid, and still being told to smile for the cameras. It's not hard math. If you're Caitlin Clark icing a swollen ankle while your agent's phone lights up with European offers, you're not just comparing salaries, you're comparing futures. One side says, you're our centerpiece, and here's the infrastructure to keep you healthy and dominant. The other side says, thanks for the ticket sales, now good luck. Sophie Cunningham's move makes it even clearer. She wasn't just chasing off-season money. She was done with the grind, done with feeling undervalued, done with the lip service. When veterans and rookies alike are looking at the same exit signs, that's not coincidence. That's systemic failure. And here's the kicker. Every player watching knows it. Every college prospect, every young baller dreaming of the W, they're seeing the blueprint shift. Suddenly, the WNBA isn't the destination. It's an option. And when your dream league becomes just another choice, you've already lost the edge. This crisis isn't just about money, and it's not even just about injuries. At its core, it's about confidence. Players don't trust the system anymore. They don't trust that if they get hurt, the league will have their back. They don't trust that leadership will be transparent when the biggest star is sidelined. And they definitely don't trust that their loyalty will be rewarded with anything more than marketing slogans and empty promises. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Compensation matters, but confidence matters more. A player will take a smaller paycheck if they believe the league is invested in their career, their safety, and their future. Right now, the WNBA is sending the opposite message. You're a headline, not a partner. And once faith is gone, it's almost impossible to rebuild.
Fans are noticing too. Social media is flooded with posts saying, if this is how they treat Clark, what chance does anyone else have? That's not just backlash, that's a narrative shift, and narratives spread faster than press releases. So now you've got the worst possible combination: angry fans, frustrated players, and leadership acting like it's just a bump in the road. That's not a bump, that's a crater. And unless something changes now, that crater turns into an exit ramp. The collective bargaining agreement has always been a powder keg in the WNBA, but right now, it's ready to explode. Players aren't just asking for more money anymore. They're demanding dignity. They want guaranteed medical care, security in their careers, and a real voice in how the league is run. And honestly, they've earned the right to demand it. This isn't about ego, it's about survival. Here's the catch. The league has known for years that the system was unsustainable. They knew banking everything on one or two stars was a disaster waiting to happen. They knew players were frustrated. They knew overseas teams were circling. And yet, instead of fixing the foundation, they doubled down on hype. Caitlin's face went on every billboard, every interview request, every highlight reel. And now, that gamble is backfiring in real time. If the CBA blows up, it won't just be about dollars and cents. It'll be about whether players feel respected enough to stay. Because overseas, they're already proving they'll treat these women as professionals. If the WNBA doesn't step up, the exodus will only accelerate. This is the turning point. Either the league invests in its athletes, truly invests, or it risks losing them altogether. And when you lose the players, you lose everything.
This isn't just a player problem anymore. It's a fan problem. It's a sponsor problem. It's a narrative problem. When Caitlin Clark missed the All-Star game, ticket prices dropped nearly 50% overnight. That's not a coincidence. That's a market response. Sponsors are getting nervous. Networks are worried about ratings. And fans, they're asking the question no league ever wants to hear. Is this even worth supporting anymore? The WNBA had lightning in a bottle, but instead of building something sustainable, they built something fragile. Now the cracks are everywhere. Social media is flooded with posts like, "Why would Clark stay here?" or "Sophie was smart to leave." And here's the kicker. Those aren't trolls. Those are paying fans. Once your audience starts seeing exit signs instead of future dreams, you've already lost part of them. And let's be clear, sponsors notice these things. Corporate money doesn't like uncertainty. If star players are leaving mid-season, if fans are questioning their loyalty, if ratings are tanking without one person in the lineup, the investment feels risky. And risky is the last thing a growing league can afford to look like. So the fallout isn't just about today. It's about tomorrow. It's about the next deal, the next fan, the next kid watching highlights and wondering if the WNBA is where she really wants to end up. Because once confidence cracks at every level, players, fans, and sponsors, it doesn't just bounce back with one marketing campaign. It takes years to rebuild. And right now, the league doesn't have years. It has months. Let's play out the nightmare scenario. Caitlin Clark doesn't just miss games. She leaves. Maybe it's Europe, maybe Australia, maybe somewhere that offers her triple the salary, full medical teams, and the respect she's not getting here. What happens then? The answer is brutal. The WNBA may not recover. Not in the way fans hope. Because Clark isn't just a player, she's the centerpiece of the league's business model. Her injury already exposed how hollow the system is. If she walks for good and succeeds overseas, the message is crystal clear. You don't need the WNBA to thrive. And once that truth takes hold, the entire dream collapses. Young players won't see the W as the ultimate destination anymore. Sponsors won't see it as a safe bet. Fans won't see it as the pinnacle of the game. Instead, it becomes optional, a stopover, not the destination. And you can't build a future on being second choice. The sad irony? This could have been avoided. Clark could have been the blueprint, the player around whom the league built real infrastructure, better protections, better investment in everyone.
Instead, she became a cautionary tale. The WNBA wanted her to be the savior, but never gave her the tools to stay safe, respected, and supported. If she leaves, the league won't just lose a star, it will lose its credibility. And in sports, once credibility is gone, it rarely comes back.
This collapse isn't a surprise. It's the product of years of building a league on vibes instead of vision. The WNBA finally got what it always wanted: buzz, attention, and investment. But instead of using Caitlin Clark's arrival to build infrastructure, they leaned harder on hype. She became the poster child, the ratings magnet, the golden ticket. But when the lights dimmed and she got hurt, the truth came out. There was no depth, no backup plan, no system strong enough to stand without her. The league wants Clark to be the savior, but not too popular. They want her to bring fans in, but not overshadow veterans. They want her to carry the WNBA's future without giving her the resources to stay healthy or the respect to thrive. It's a contradiction that's impossible to sustain. And Sophie Cunningham? Her departure proves this isn't just about one rookie phenom. When rookies and veterans are both looking for the exit, you don't have a generational divide, you have a systemic failure. Overseas, the infrastructure is there. Salaries are higher, facilities are better, medical care is guaranteed. Players are treated like partners, not props. Meanwhile, in the WNBA, leadership is still arguing over charter flights in 2025. That's not progress, that's negligence. The truth is simple. You can't market yourself as progressive while ignoring basic player safety. You can't demand loyalty while offering scraps. And you can't build a league on one superstar and call it stability. That's not a league. That's a time bomb.
One player leaving is a headline. 2 players leaving is a warning. But what happens if it turns into a movement? That's the risk the WNBA is staring at right now. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham might just be the beginning, because once a few stars prove they can thrive overseas, better pay, better treatment, better stability, others will follow. And once it starts to look normal for top talent to pack their bags mid-season, the league isn't just losing players, it's losing legitimacy. Think about it. Fans don't buy tickets to watch management spin press releases. They buy tickets to watch the best players in the world. If those players are suiting up in Istanbul or Barcelona instead of Indiana or Phoenix, why would fans stick around? Why would sponsors keep writing checks? Why would kids growing up with the ball in their hands dream of wearing a WNBA jersey when the blueprint shows a different path? This is the nightmare scenario. The WNBA doesn't just lose stars, it loses its dream factor. And once a league stops being the dream, it stops being the destination. At that point, you don't just have a crisis, you have an identity collapse. Because here's the truth. Fans follow talent, not logos. Sponsors follow security, not chaos. And players follow respect, not slogans. If the WNBA doesn't grasp that right now, this slow drip of exits could become a full-blown stampede. And when that happens, there may be no stopping it.
The biggest failure in this entire crisis isn't just the injuries. It isn't even the departures. It's the silence from the top. When Clark went down, fans were desperate for clarity. What's her condition? What's the plan for her recovery? How will the league ensure its biggest star is protected moving forward? Instead, they got vague statements, delayed updates, and an eerie quiet from the people in charge. That silence didn't calm anyone. It did the opposite. It made fans lose faith. It made players feel disposable. And it handed control of the narrative over to rumor, frustration, and social media outrage. Leadership is supposed to lead, to step in during a storm and show they have a plan. But in this case, they looked unprepared, reactive, and completely out of touch. Pretending this is just a bump in the road isn't just tone death, it's dangerous. Because you don't solve a player exodus with PR spin. You solve it with reform. And that's the void right now. No urgency, no accountability, no sense of responsibility for the mess they helped create. A league can survive injuries. A league can survive competition, but a league cannot survive leadership that refuses to lead. Here's the bottom line. This league can still save itself, but only if it stops pretending the house isn't on fire. The fixes aren't complicated, but they require courage. First, player protection has to be non-negotiable. That means proper medical staff, transparent injury protocols, and guaranteed resources for recovery. If the league can't keep its stars healthy and safe, nothing else matters. Second, pay and benefits have to reflect professionalism. Not just bigger checks for the top names, but security for the middle class of talent, the players who make up the majority of the league and keep it competitive. Overseas leagues have already set the standard. The WNBA has to meet it or get left behind. Third, marketing must be league-wide, not star-dependent. Building everything on Caitlin Clark was always a gamble. You can feature stars, sure, but you have to elevate the entire roster, every team, every city. Otherwise, one injury takes down your entire business model. And finally, leadership needs to show up. No more vague statements, no more silence. Fans and players need transparency, accountability, and real reform, not PR spin. Leadership has to admit mistakes and then fix them, visibly and aggressively. Because here's the truth. The WNBA has the talent. The game is beautiful. The fans are hungry. But if the system doesn't evolve, if it doesn't start treating players as partners instead of props, the league won't just lose stars. It will lose its future. This moment isn't just a crisis. It's a crossroads. Reform now or get replaced. Period. So, here we are. The WNBA isn't just in a rough patch. It's standing on the edge of a cliff. One side is reform, real reform. A league that finally puts players first, that invests in infrastructure, that builds a foundation strong enough to handle injuries, competition, and change. The other side, collapse. A slow, painful unraveling as stars walk out, fans tune out, and sponsors cash out. This isn't about Caitlin Clark alone. It's not even about Sophie Cunningham. It's about a league that asked for attention, got it, and then fumbled the responsibility that came with it. And now the clock is ticking. Because women's basketball deserves better. The players deserve better. The fans deserve better. And if the WNBA won't evolve, someone else will. Overseas leagues are ready. They've already rolled out the red carpet. The choice couldn't be clearer. Reform or collapse. Build or be replaced. That's the fork in the road. The only question left is, does the WNBA have the courage to pick the right path? If you want to follow every twist of this story, every shift, every fallout, you know what to do. Hit subscribe and stay here for the coverage you won't find in the headlines.